is intended to promote the building of a united, democratic and prosperous society where citizens, residents and migrants live together in peace and harmony. Now, this year's event is taking place at Monte-casino, north of Johannesburg, and let's cross live to the event wherein our reporter Chrisella Lewis is standing by.
Well, thank you very much there, Simpiwe, and a very good evening to you live from Monte-casino at the ballroom here at the 2016 Mkhaya Migrant Awards. This is where it will be taking place this year. Now, these awards are aimed at fostering the social cohesion as well as integration. Now, the Department of Home Affairs has come up with this great initiative where you will see a number of people honored here today across various sectors for the roles that they have played. First of all, migrants living in South Africa who have managed to contribute towards the development of this country in different spheres, and also some of the South Africans who are doing phenomenal work on other parts of the continent, in particular in areas of need and strife as well. There's a number of people who are going to be honored here this evening, a number of categories as well, across arts and culture, across business as well, and in ordinary communities as well. I did manage to speak to some of them a bit earlier on this afternoon into this evening, and I can tell you much excitement here today for such a great initiative, in particular in South Africa, where you've got so many of our brothers and sisters from various parts of the continent in this country, and of course some of the South African citizens as well in various parts on the continent doing phenomenal work. But the man of the moment here this evening certainly is the Minister of Home Affairs, looking very dapper as usual. We're certainly not disappointed by your dress code, Minister. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. A phenomenal initiative, to honor people who are doing fantastic work, migrants living in South Africa, as well as South Africans who are doing phenomenal work on the continent as well. Why is it important for this event to continue honoring such people?
It's important because we are trying to reframe the discourse and understanding in the country about migration. First and foremost, we are trying as the department to manage migration so that there are tangible benefits that arise from the process. But we also want to highlight the fact that there are many immigrants in our country that are making a phenomenal contribution to the development of South Africa. We want to dispel the myth that immigrants are a drain on our society and are just here to disadvantage us in all sorts of ways. And we want to dispel another myth that South Africans are generally xenophobic and particularly Afrophobic. So the awards, we hope through these awards, we will highlight the positive contribution of immigrants in our society in various fields, as you have mentioned. We will also highlight the contributions by South African expatriates in other parts of the world and particularly our continent. But there's going to be a special award tonight. Two special awards, the O.R. Tambo Award, which will be given to that South African or groups of South Africans making a phenomenal contribution elsewhere in the world. But the second one will be given to 10 young students at university who wrote essays on the importance of social cohesion in South Africa, particularly looking at the field of immigration. They will be given an all expenses paid trip to Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, where they will visit the seat of the African Union, visit the African Union headquarters to ensure that we inculcate in them that culture of internationalism, of African solidarity and understanding of the role of South Africa in the international community.
It must be particularly difficult to sift through so many. I know, for example, one of the companies that's here this evening is Eskom Uganda. We know that a school was built there, for example, to try and assist some of the children, who were displaced during very difficult times there. How do you sift through so many of these, nominations where you've got both people living in South Africa doing phenomenal work in the various communities where they are, and also these companies operating in those countries, but not just there to do business, but also to help?
You know, it's been difficult. We selected a panel of judges from different fields, very experienced in their fields, to sit through all these nominations, because these are public nominations, they don't come from us. They then had to select which among them qualified to win. But I think what the story of the nominees will tell is that there is an amazing story, an amazing narrative of ordinary people doing great things in South Africa and elsewhere, who have to be recognized, so that we continue to foster social cohesion and integration. This is one of many programs that the department is undertaking to ensure that we integrate immigrants in our society. But it also happens in the context of a changing international migration policy framework, which is going to be much more comprehensive and futuristic. So what we are doing is just but one part, but very crucial, because here we're not talking generalizations, we're talking concrete cases, we're demonstrating the work that is being done, and we are saying to South Africans, here are people from elsewhere who are doing things that benefit us. Here are communities of South Africans that are integrating immigrants very well. Here are South Africans doing great things abroad. And here are your children that have demonstrated a great and deep understanding of what international migration does to our country and its impact on social cohesion. Because ultimately, South Africa is a story that is not complete. We are not who we ought to be. We are an evolving society. And today there are many people in our midst who were not born in our country, who don't speak any of the languages that we imagine when we think of South Africans, but who are now as South African as all of us.
Minister, I'm not going to hold you much longer. I know that you've got a program to get through today. Congratulations certainly on a fantastic event, and well done to the Department of Home Affairs. Let's go to some of the nominees as well. Let's just come a bit this way. We'll speak to you first, sir, and of course nominated as well in one of the categories there, Abdikadir Mohammed from the Somalia Association of South Africa. Sir, must be quite a privilege for you to be here today, but let's talk a bit about the Somalia Association and what exactly it is that you're doing in South Africa for Somalis who are here.
Somali Association of South Africa is a non-profit organization that was formed in 1996. It's 20 years old now. And the work we do, we work with refugees and asylum seekers. We liaise with government departments, including the Department of Home Affairs, and we do programs and workshops that tackle the issue of social cohesion and integration.
How difficult was it? You know, the minister did touch on some of these issues, and I think as the Somali community in South Africa, one of the most difficult things that you've had to deal with is the issue of xenophobia. How were you able, as an association, able to bring South Africans and some of the Somalis living in the country together to try and find a solution to one of those challenges that we've often seen on different occasions in South Africa?
First of all, when the incidents of xenophobia happen, we normally engage with the locals and we engage with the foreign nationals on our side, and we bring them together. And the more important thing that we do, which is a long-term issue that we are busy with all the time, is to do workshops and educate people around who is who, why are people here, what is a refugee, who is an asylum seeker, why do people run away from their countries. And we also try to educate the foreign nationals themselves by telling them about the South African history, what South Africans went through, what are the challenges South Africans face, for example, like inequality, poverty, unemployment, and issues like that, so that they understand why sometimes there is reaction from South Africans.
All right, well, all the best for this evening, and we hope that you do take it home.
Thank you very much.
Let's also join one of the other nominees as well. We've got Siphiwe Sekhodi, who's from the Thembelihle Crisis Committee, and certainly you remember during Thembelihle there'd been quite a number of service delivery protests in that area where the community had basically asked for intervention. We're talking about water and sanitation. This is one of the organizations that played a crucial role. President Jacob Zuma was there recently to try and sort out some of the challenges that the community was facing. Mr. Sekhodi, you're nominated as well here this evening. As the Thembelihle community, what exactly have you done to try and better the lives of the people in that area?
Well, as you correctly pointed out, generally, I mean, we have been struggling around ensuring that the area is developed into a proper township. But you'll appreciate that it's an informal settlement, and it has attracted also people from foreign countries. So we have people from different other countries. Now, you would also appreciate that whenever xenophobic attacks break out, they either begin in townships or informal settlement, and foreigners are at the receiving end. So we've been engaging our community in ensuring that whenever xenophobic attacks break out, we ensure that we don't attack foreign people, foreign nationals. But also at our last protest, and also you remember that the attackers as well take advantage of protests, genuine protests, and they are diverted into xenophobic attacks. Now, in one of our protests, we appeal to the community. It was sometime last year in February. Appeal to the community to ensure that no attacks engaged on with regard to foreign nationals. And there were obviously those who didn't abide by that resolution of the community. What we did was to access the community, went house to house where where people who have stolen or looted from foreign national shops. We took back we repossessed all the possessions that have been stolen and ensured that they were taken back to their rightful owners. Yeah?
Absolutely fantastic. All about creating social cohesion and togetherness as well, whether it's foreign nationals and South Africans as well. Let's bring in Eskom Uganda. Also nominated here this evening. We're speaking to Mama Nokwanda Mngeni. Mama Nokwanda, thank you very much for your time this evening. You are one of those people nominated for the OR Tambo Award. Now, this is about recognizing people or a company that is doing phenomenal work on other parts of the continent, and in particular assisting in areas of need and strife. And that's exactly what you're nominated here for today.
Yes, as part of Eskom Uganda, we tried with the little money that we had to make sure that we try and help whenever there's a need. For example, in the northern Uganda, there was the rebels that were abducting young girls. So as part of being reintegrated into society, the High Commission then asked us to build a school, which we did. That's one of the many things that we did. Also, whenever there was disaster in any part of the country, we would not only take Eskom Uganda's money, we would also mobilize from our own funds as staff and management to give to that area. I'm also nominated for going the extra mile of helping some young people. As a golfer, I found out that some young golfers were struggling with school fees, and I helped quite a number of them. One of them I left before he could graduate in a diploma. I started him from Form 1.
How difficult is it, though, operating on some parts of the continent? You speak about rebels and, political situations, I guess, that are not always conducive for you to do what you do in these countries. But how difficult is it to step in there and lend that helping hand as someone who is not from that particular country?
It's not so difficult. As a mom, when you see somebody struggling, you feel like it could be your own child. And without thinking twice, you just reach out and you help.
Fantastic. All the best this evening. Let's bring in now, nominated in the business sector there as well, Shaiba Iqbal, also from the Bliss Chemical Company. So thank you very much for your time this evening. Often people say a business doesn't play its role when it comes to assisting, when you're talking about assisting communities. You often hear people say business needs to come to the party. How have you come to the party that landed you here this evening?
Well, I don't know in what perspective they think that businesses don't participate. Businesses participate in different ways, helping the societies in some ways, which we do our part as well, and also on overall economy. In washing powder markets, people can see that our prices of washing powder in South Africa is one of the lowest in the world. This is because there is a competition. There are people, that's because we are a smaller company. We can bring the prices down, and it does benefit to the communities and the local consumers. As we know, the situation is how people are cash tight.
Right. Well, it seems like the program's just about to get underway inside. Let's try and bring you in, Mrs. Caroline Steyn. You'll also come through this way. Mrs. Caroline Steyn, of course, you would know, involved in a number of programs that give back. There's 67 blankets and a number of other initiatives that you've been involved in. You are presenting an award tonight.
I am. I'm presenting the Business Award, and I'm very proud and honoured to be here. I think it's commendable that the department is having this evening, this ceremony, to recognise the great work of foreigners in our country and, of course, South Africans living abroad. So I think Madiba would definitely be smiling down on tonight.
Absolutely. How important is it, though, for us to have an event such as this, not only just to honour South Africans who are doing fantastic work on the continent in areas of need and strife, but also, foreign nationals who've come to South Africa, perhaps fleeing whatever political situation or economic conditions, and coming to do their part here in South Africa?
I think it is so important to shout out that we are saying no to xenophobia, because tonight is to celebrate the people who are doing great works, who come from outside of our country, and to recognize them, I think, is a very strong statement against the xenophobia that we experienced last year. And as 67 blankets for Nelson Mandela Day, that's precisely what we are doing. We are knitting our nation together, we're knitting our continent together, and indeed, hopefully, one day the world.
We were just commemorating just the other day, the passing of Tata Nelson Mandela. How far do you think we've come in embracing the ideals that he left of social cohesion, integration, as well as tolerance? Tolerance is an issue that often comes up in South Africa when we talk about relations between South Africans and foreign nationals.
I think Madiba would be crying right now to see where we are in our country, not tolerating other people, and certainly, looking at our government crumbling apart. I don't think Madiba would be terribly happy, but tonight, recognizing the great work and celebrating wonderful people who are doing wonderful work in our country, for that, I think Madiba would be smiling down.
Fantastic, thank you very much. I'm not sure if you've run out of time at this point, Mrs. Steyn. You may go that way. Let's also come to one of the other nominees as well. In which category?
Art and culture.
Arts and culture. How does arts and culture bring together peace, harmony, social cohesion, integration?
It helps us to know people. It helps us to understand that we do have a lot of skills that we're not giving away, and those skills can make changes in people's lives. I got inspiration, to tell you the truth, from my church. I'm a child of Holy Trinity Catholic Church, Midrand. I got inspiration there. I've learned there that God doesn't punish you for what you do or for what you did, but He punishes you for what you didn't do it. And then I remember that I've got a lot of skills. I'm sitting with them. There are kids outside there. There are ladies outside there who need this, and this can change their life.
So how are you doing your part?
I'm doing a lot. I'm actress. I was actress in Mozambique, but I had the opportunity to join a bidding course in our church from the Franciscan sisters, and then I realized. Fortunately, I was the acting chairperson. In graduations, I realized that I can go to center and teach kids acting and bring them for the recreation on the graduation. And that helped me to explore my acting course, and again helped me with the course to give away gifts. I spoiled a lot of grannies. I spoiled a lot of ladies on Valentine
and I hope you get spoiled tonight by winning that award. Let's bring in Siskanye as well. I see she's having a conversation there, but we'll quickly pull you away from there. Always delightful to speak to you. You've done so much. Undoubtedly one of the most powerful women in South Africa, recognized on the continent as well. How important is it, you think, for us to have an event such as this to remind ourselves that a lot more work needs to be done to create a sense of togetherness, whether you're South African or not?
I think it's extremely important to do this work, to not only remind ourselves that a lot more needs to be done, but to also recognize and applaud the people who are doing magnificent work to contribute to the continent and also contribute to South Africa's development and progress. Africa is strongest when Africa is united, and events like this foster that unity. and encourage that spirit of togetherness which we need to be successful. And at Ndalo Media, the company which I founded and which publishes Destiny and other publications, we reach about 13 African countries, and we get so much positive feedback from those countries and so much evidence that our values are common, our goals are common, our aspirations are common. We all want the same things. We want to succeed individually, we want our families to succeed, and we want our continent to succeed. So these awards are very much in the spirit of that, and I think that they should grow from strength to strength. I hope they do.
I think it would be very important also, given that you're published in these various countries on the continent, through telling some of these phenomenal stories as a woman in the media.
Absolutely, and we are increasingly telling not just South African or SADC stories, but also stories from further afield, because ultimately every person has a dream to be better than they were before, to be better than previous generations before them, to move themselves forward, to move generations from their families forward, and to lift others up with them. I think that's ultimately what all Africans want. So the idea that as a South African media company you can't publish content for another country, or that as a Nigerian media company you can't publish content or do business elsewhere, is not quite true. I think that in many ways there's so much more that we can do together to have much more impact on our continent and on the world.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your time and enjoy your evening. Let's bring in the big dog. The big dog. DJ Fresh, how are you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Now, you have a very powerful platform at the SABC,
Yes.
broadcasting to millions, and that comes with responsibility.
Yes.
You often link to the news, and what you hear sometimes is not what would bring joy to the heart, I guess. How important is it for you to use that platform to create that social cohesion, that togetherness, and to remind South Africans and perhaps, foreign nationals living in the country that without each other, not much can be achieved?
I think working on a platform like 5FM already came with its challenges, because the perception is it's a white radio station. So I think my responsibility was bigger than just bringing Africans together. It was also saying whether you're black, white, Chinese, Indian, if we love the same kind of radio, the same kind of music, then we have more in common than we actually thought before. So for me, I think it was a double-edged sword that I had to almost deal with. But I'm a professional, so I got this.
You certainly do. But of course, just paging through media over the past couple of days, a number of racist incidents, and I think that speaks directly to social cohesion and trying to create a sense of togetherness. And what more do you think can be done? Certainly the awards are a first step in the right direction to try and remind or honor those who are taking that first step to try and assist. But what more can be done, I think, from you to try and perhaps deal with some of these challenges that we still face?
You know what, I think that was a brilliant idea, because there are many South Africans in other countries doing great things. There are many South Africans in South Africa doing great things. And, a spotlight needs to be shone on all those people, for people to realize that we're part of a global village. It's not just me. It's, what value can I add? But having said that, we've had a lot of incidences that I feel are unfortunate. But for as long as we're not making examples of such people, for as long as we keep sweeping certain things under the carpet, we'll never deal with them. These are conversations that are uncomfortable. And I think for the longest time, perhaps we hid behind we're a rainbow nation, as opposed to saying, we've got differences, let's talk about it. A lot of things have been left to us, ordinary citizenry to deal with, that maybe shouldn't have just been left to us. So I think we all have responsibility, whether it's government, whether it's your company. What's your company doing beyond the company party? What are you doing to say to your staff that it's not acceptable that we only get along at the Christmas party? Do you even know where your colleagues live? Do you know how they live? What else do you know about them? You might be a Christian. What do you know about your Muslim colleague? Do you even care about how they live? Or do you just go with what you read about them, and therefore your prejudices are based on you not even bothering to ask questions, to lift a finger or raise your voice? So I think we all have a responsibility to open our mouths, open our eyes, and most important, open our minds.
Look, we looking forward to Reconciliation Day. We're here at the Mkhaya Awards. That throws forward to Reconciliation Day. How could we use that to preach the very message that you speak of? One of reminding South Africans and foreign nationals, whoever is listening, that a lot has been done, but there's a lot that's still bubbling under. There's a lot of, I guess, unease, hatred, some would say. How can we use Reconciliation Day to deal with that?
Again, I think, it's almost like with World AIDS Day. People know the facts. People know what they ought to do. But do we create enough platforms for people to talk? For people to express themselves? Do we allow kids in schools to ask the questions that might be uncomfortable, but that ought to be answered? And that's where it starts. For as long as a kid is hearing, mama and papa saying this, but there's no other voice outside of the little world that preaches something else, then that's all that kid is learning. So even with schools, for instance, you have a responsibility to open up the dialogue. It might be uneasy. It's like talking about the so-called birds and the bees. It's uneasy, but it has to happen. Somebody has to do it. So it can't be left to people on the street. It can't be left to just the churches. We all have to play our part.
Absolutely.
And for as long as we're saying and doing nothing, if your parents are racist, that's all you're going to know, hatred and prejudice.
DJ Fresh, Tato Sukwane, thank you very much for your time. Always very inspiring to listen to him there. We'll take a short break now, and once we come back, we'll go straight to the official program inside, where we will see who will take those top honors here this evening. South Africans doing phenomenal work on other parts of the continent, in areas of strife, in areas of need as well, and also, some migrants who are doing phenomenal work towards social cohesion, development in South Africa, and creating awareness, a sense of togetherness as well, and also preaching, the message of tolerance. We've seen xenophobic attacks rocked in South Africa several times. So a lot of what's going to take place here this evening is to try and address some of those and honor people who are doing phenomenal work, whether it's companies or communities who are preaching the message of tolerance, social cohesion, and togetherness. A short break now. Once we come back, we'll go inside.
Winners will nominate a charity of their
It's more than a gift, it's capturing summer magic. Get a Galaxy S7 Edge with Tab 3 Lite bundle for $6.99 per month on My MTN Choice Flexi 200. Plus your choice of a Gear VR or an accessory kit. The Galaxy S7 Edge, now in blue coral.